Now let's get straight into conversation as the World Bank has released its Nigeria Development Report for 2023, dubbed Turning the Corner from Reforms and Renewed Hope to Results. The event at the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja began with remarks from World Bank Country Director for Nigeria, that's Shubham Chaudhry. It also featured a presentation by World Bank lead economist for Nigeria, Alex Sienart, and a panel discussion with Nigeria's Minister of Finance, the Minister of Trade and Investment, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
There is pressure on the fiscal deficit. There is pressure on government finances. There is the resort to borrowing, which has been inherited. So if you look, and what I ask us to point to and look at and focus on is the direction in which things are going. The fiscal deficit, which leads to borrowing by the government, whether through the domestic markets, the debt management office DGs here, or whether the resort at times, as you mentioned, to ways and means, is a function of the fiscal deficit. Under the 2024 appropriation bill, the fiscal deficit is due to come down to 3.8% from over 6%. So that shows that whatever the levels of borrowing are, they are being reduced. And there is a plan to reduce that fiscal deficit over time.
Naira scarcity. Yes, unfortunate, and really the history of that lies in the Naira redesign policy. And coming to the end of the year, way before I would say the third quarter actually, it was the third quarter, there was a lot of apprehension with respect to where this was all going to end, whether at the end of the year, currency would no longer be good for legal tender, and many started hoarding. This is really what happened. Many started hoarding. Happily, the Supreme Court has decided, very clearly that the currencies will be valid post the end of the year. So, at the same time, the central bank itself, after that pronouncement, has gone out to advertise and let people know that this is the case. Radio jingles, we've come out in the press, we've, going out to the rural areas to ensure that people understand that it's not something for them to be concerned about, that their Naira is legal tender beyond the end of this year.
If you're subsidizing power, you can look at it that we're also subsidizing production, so long as we are able to get the power to the productive sector. And that's our focus and our target. The issue with PMS subsidy was we're subsidizing consumption. Now, if we're subsidizing anything that's productive, that's what will grow the economy. You understand what I'm saying? So, and power touches every sector. It touches, the PMS is for mobility, right? It was more of diesel that was funding or powering machineries. And you also now have gas also powering machineries. If we're able to make payment for gas Naira denominated, it becomes a lot easier. Then it reduces the volatility and the fluctuations that we see with international gas prices. This is produced locally, gas, right? Why can't we have those things produced locally like gas being denominated in Naira?
Tremendous progress has been made over the last 4 years. And in getting tariffs to the point where they're cost reflective, but doing so in a way that also starts to build some confidence back that you're paying higher tariffs for more reliable service. So I think the key here will be to kind of navigate that balance of making things meaning fiscally sustainable and affordable, while ensuring that consumers, households, and firms, businesses like you mentioned, do have reliable power, right? The depreciation of the Naira is what has created the immediate challenge, right? Because many of the cost-reflective tariffs are linked to the exchange rate. So this is a problem that government is fully aware of. What I've heard the president say is, look, at this point, given all the pain that the population has already endured, we're going to take our time.
This is a report that we produce biannually, and it's an important one for us because it really attempts to take stock of where the economy is currently at and what the outlook is for the next 1 year, 2 years going forward. And this one is of particular interest, we think and hope, because of the sense that it's been a big year for the economy in terms of some of the key decisions and reforms that have been taken, but we're really still in a period of very significant adjustments to these reforms, and a sense that, frankly, many of them are very difficult. So if we consider the very large increases in petrol prices, the big adjustments in the currency, the fact that inflation was already high and it's still rising, in many places where you look, it just seems like one challenge after another. But actually our sense, and the title of the report, is Turning the Corner, because we do feel actually that there are some signs of resilience in the economy, that government is taking steps, such as the targeted cash compensation, to help, especially the poorest and most vulnerable, get through this. And that moving into 2024, if there's more of a push to really follow through and implement these reforms, we can start to see the benefits of the new flexible approach to the currency and market cost-reflective PMS pricing. So there's much more to do, but the potential for Nigeria's economy to really turn the corner in 2024.
Well, Arise News analyst Dayo Sobowale joins us now to discuss this call by the World Bank for greater transparency on oil revenues and Nigeria Oil Corporation's gains from removal of fuel subsidy, in addition to how to make accountability in the oil and gas sector less opaque. Good to have you on Newsday. Good afternoon, Mr. Sobowale.
It's a pleasure being here as usual. Right.
Pleasure to have you as always.
Correct.
So what's your take on this call being made by the World Bank?
Well, I think somewhat the World Bank seems to have improved its relationship management with the Nigerian government. You see, normally I'm suspicious about anything to do with IMF because of the strict conditionalities for their loans. But look at the report they have there now. They have even borrowed from the manifesto of the party of the president, the need hope and rapid results. You see, maybe that will make them more trustworthy. But I'm always wary about taking their loans. But again, if you look at what they are trying to tell us about NNPC, it is what Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, has always been saying. There are 65 companies, extractive companies, that NITI is dealing with. But you see, they have the annual reports. With the NNPC, I think maybe they are congratulating themselves for having an annual report since they have been founded, maybe 2021. Can you believe that? And it's a limited liability company. A limited liability company must have an annual report, must have an annual general meeting. That must have auditors auditing its accounts on a yearly basis. That is the law that says of what this is a super corporate entity, headed all the while by presidents, by either military or civilian, except perhaps once during the time of Jonathan, where you have Diziani, and you know what got out of that.
Yeah.
They are chasing the former minister of power all over the world to get some assets back. But then, you see, if the management of the NNPC, the board, if they publish the annual report regularly, there will be transparency. Nobody will accuse them of opaqueness. Nobody will accuse them of opaqueness. But then, you see, with the World Bank, I think now they are relaxed with Nigeria because of the leadership now, which they know, unlike before. You know, the president was a mobile accountant. And then most of the people leading our finance industry under these reforms, they are mostly American-trained, Western-oriented people who are leaning more to fiscal austerity, pruning down the inflation rate, and supporting privatization, trade liberalization, and all that. And then, of course, the World Bank will want anybody that takes money from it to practice democracy. But the results of our loans from World Bank are not only us. Most countries in Africa that took loans from the World Bank ended up having more poverty, more unemployment,
Asia as well,
and inflation than the rest. So we should be wary. But now you can see, in terms of fiscal austerity, they are not mentioning much of that now, even though they know that we are taking money all over the place. But then we took money for infrastructure, which eventually, these are public goods that will help us to revamp our economy. It's only because of this fuel subsidy removal, which has, you see, decreased purchasing power of people and make standard of living very low, and making out a living on a daily basis very, 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 very hard for some Nigerians. You see, but all the same, what we all dreaded was the removal of the fuel subsidy. I thought, I've said it several times, that the economy of the nation will collapse because of the social cost. But you see now, it is subsiding. People are still suffering. People are still suffering, but they are learning to trust the government that it will do the palliatives. They have not reached everybody, but they say they have reached some places. So if the World Bank is a bit considerate now, unlike before, and not hard enough, because even the language they used to talk to people was like a debtor, so you have no dignity or no respect. So that has softened. And I think maybe it's because, how do I put it, third world people are up there in the hierarchy. See the two people that spoke to us, the present World Bank MD is a Sikh Indian American. Mm-hmm. So they understand the background of lifting nations out of poverty, lending them money, and then not stifling them in an effort to repay back the money, or dehumanizing their society in the process of collecting your money back. So I think with the World Bank, the way it is going, I think we will get through with the leadership we have, which they seem to trust. So it's the budget of renewed hope. Let it translate to results.
I'd like to piggyback off of some of the things that you've said, because when we look at the calls from the World Bank, it echoes the sentiments of former CBN Governor Sanusi Lamido, who just, I believe it was last week, shared his experience as CBN Governor, where he says when he called for the auditing of NNPC, he feels, according to his own account anyway, that's what led to the end of his tenure. He also made reference to the fact that aside from NNPC being so opaque, not being open for auditing, he feels the president cannot be the petroleum minister. He gave a specific advice. He said, I was able to go to Dizani and call Dizani to order, but I can't question the president. How ready do you think this administration is to make those types of changes? So we have seen, bold moves already, removal of fuel subsidy and so forth. And of course, we're seeing the monetary policy changes as well. But let's talk about, the things that have plagued us over the years, time and time again, as you also referred to in your response. Do you think we're ready to go back to having an independent minister of petroleum who can oversee the auditing of NNPC?
You don't need to, whether the president oversees NNPC or whether a minister, let the NNPC publish its annual report. That is conditional for companies. Shell, even those in the petrochemical, giant companies, banks, they publish report. Why can't let them? it's not a matter of the president, the minister. Let them publish the annual report.
Well, I say that because if the
Because if they publish the annual report, you see assets and liabilities. You see funds they have, sources and application of the funds. So it is, there will be no opaqueness.
But can people
it does not
question
matter.
it freely?
They have MD, they have chairman, their president chairman, Oluwakin is an accountant. And the present MD knows the industry very well. He has been able to make the annual report. You get me? Let them do that. They have a board. The board is not the Federal Executive Council. So it's not the matter of who is Minister of Petroleum. Even the Minister of Petroleum, it's not only the NNPC that the minister will focus on. So that is the responsibility of whoever is president. And then, if you look at the way the Desiani appointment turned out, you will now realize why the president wants to put NNPC in his pocket, literally. This is what is happening. It's a matter of trust. It's just like security. Like the former president, when he said he has put all the leaders of the security industry, he has picked them from his own area, he said it's a matter of trust. So it's up to the president to decide. But let the NNPC be accountable and transparent. Because according to this president MD, said their goal is transparency, accountability, performance, and excellence. Let us see the annual report on an annual basis. Let them do the annual general meeting, like other Total, Shell, all those people who are partnering with them, they do it. Let them do it. There will be no acquisition of opaqueness. That's the ultimate financial transparency and accountability. Let them publish it.
Of course, Mr. Sobowale, we certainly hear you on that. But we focusing on the fact that this call is being made by World Bank. Where would you also like to see more pressure coming from, for NNPCL to make these reports available?
What can we do except to make the call? The only thing is to make the call. Or, you cannot ask government to fight itself. The law is there. Companies and allied companies are out to perform. Why they should have annual report? If they are not done the annual report, there are measures, penalties. Let somebody invoke that. Who will invoke it? Who will invoke that against the president?
Right.
That's a dicey one. But then there's need for accountability. And then again, aside from the annual report, Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative. Before, when they publish a report, they don't listen to them. But now, with this new MD of NNPC, they are listening to them. They give out detailed analysis of their sources of funds and the way they are using their funds. And what they should do. Right now, they say, okay, Federal Allocation Committee says NNPC is owing it, NNPC is owing it 2.something trillion. NNPC, the body, FAAC is owing it 4.1. That's the place they send the funds to before they allocate them. But you see, it seems NNPC does not send it. It will just take what it wants to take to use for subsidy, take it out and deduct from what it gives to the center. This is not on. But who will build the cat and monitor the NNPC? So it's a transparency war. On the issue of what Sanusi said, that is Sanusi says so. You get me? The other side has not spoken. You get me? So I get fidgety when you just quote people who are out of office now throwing brickbats at where they left before. I don't give credence to many of what they are mostly political at times and not really based on accountability. And it could be based on sour grapes. Who told us that was why he was sacked? This is his own say so.
Which is why I said based on his own account of events.
Right.
I just brought it in because, of course, it was
I get your point. You want a situation, maybe there will be more transparency if there is a minister of petroleum or power. But there was one before. Have we recovered from that? So you have to weigh the odds.
It's a tricky place to be. You ask yourself,
so you can't I say the president should give it to another person. If something happens later, you say that's what Dayo said.
True. We hope not. We hope
I think the president, all presidents are playing safe. They want to play safe. That the goose that lays our golden egg does not die while laying the egg. So you can't blame anybody for that.
No, you certainly can't. Now, the World Bank report also made reference to monetary policy, ways and means, which has been a huge conversation especially under the Buhari administration, and emphasizing the fact that we need to see an end of arbitrary use of ways and means. Do you think we're in a position to move away from that, especially given the fact that, we've started this administration with a call for fiscal austerity, which we're still struggling to get a hold of? Are we in a position to get out of borrowing constantly from ourselves?
You see, you cannot use the morals that you and I will use to ourselves. So you owe me money, and I want to collect my money, and vice versa. You can't use it for nation states. You get me? That's why I said this World Bank, their relationship management now is more considerate, unlike before. They make allowance for debt repayment, realistic ones. If the repayment is not coming as scheduled, they can stagger it, reschedule it, so that you don't die in the process of bringing back the money. And then you say deficit financing is productive if it is tuned towards development goals and objectives, and of course the people's welfare at the back of it. People's welfare, standard of living. Any borrowing or lending that does not take into account standard of living of people is inhuman. It's humane. It should not be part of it. But as it is now, World Bank is trying its best.
And you have done your best as well in this analysis. Thank you so much, Arise News analyst Mr. Dayo Sobowale. We appreciate your time and insight as always. Thank you.